Hey, alright everybody, how's it going? Now, I've seen a couple of articles on GBnews and the Daily Fail, and they have to be one of the worst articles I've seen about electric cars ever. And what I mean by the worst articles, they're a load of rubbish, right? And they're targeting people who know nothing about electric cars, the ones that make idiotic comments on my channel all the time. Them people. That's who they're targeting. The idiotic people who make idiotic comments on my channel. Them type of people are being targeted by the Daily Fail and GBnews because they haven't got a clue what's going on about electric cars. They've never owned one, they've never driven one, so they haven't got a clue. So when they read something in these newspapers, they believe it. And they put it on, they write it everywhere. They're absolutely idiotic, these people. They don't do their own studies. They don't look for the original article. Oh, I'm on a rant to tell you. Right, so the Daily Fail wrote an article about a study from the University of Southampton. I've got the actual study here in front of me from Southampton, and the difference between this article written here and the one in the Daily Fail is a massive difference, because the Daily Fail has got a headline, Electric Cars Dirty Secret, and they're trying to make out, this is the worst one I've seen so far, they're trying to make out that electric cars are more polluting than diesel cars and petrol cars because of the brakes. The brakes. Can you believe it? Because of the brakes when electric cars have regen braking. Now, before any stupid, idiotic, anti-EV people want to come in my comments and say the cars are heavier so the brakes are going to be worse, stop it. Stop it right now. Stop being idiotic, okay? I've driven petrol cars, diesel cars, vans, you name it, I've driven it, okay? I know the difference between regen braking and engine braking. And also, a lot of modern cars are built with smaller engines for emissions, and they have less engine braking. So there's a massive difference between, and just this is for the anti-EV nutters, okay? The anti-EV nutters, right? I'll explain to you. Regen braking does nothing to do with the brakes. It doesn't touch the brakes at all. It's the electric motor slowing the car down. So there's no brake particles coming off the car when it's slowing down through regen braking. So there we go, right? So let's just get that out of the way for you anti-EV lot who think, oh, electric cars are heavier, so the brake is going to go more brake dust. It doesn't work like that. And anybody who thinks it does are off their rocker. Now, as I was saying, regen braking, it slows the car down. My car, some cars got better regen braking than other cars. A Tesla can come to a stop. Some other electric cars can come to a complete stop just by using the electric motor. My car slows down to around about 4 miles per hour. Then, if I want to come to a complete stop, I just got to touch the brakes. And it's not going to, hardly any brake pad wear is going to happen at 4 miles per hour. I'm not using the massive weight of the car to slow the car down. So the Daily Fail and GBnews are talking absolute ghoulies. Complete and utter nonsense. It's rubbish. I've never seen so much rubbish in my life. Now, the University of Southampton, their headline is, new study finds brake pad emissions can be more toxic than diesel exhaust. Now, you've got to remember that a diesel car with a toxic diesel exhaust also has brakes, and they use them brakes more than an electric car. So how did the Daily Mail and GBnews link brake dust to electric cars and not to petrol cars and diesel cars that use the brake pads more? A study by the University of Southampton, and I'll try and link the actual study instead of the idiotic, stupid nonsense that the Daily Mail has put out. I just can't believe how ridiculous it is. And if you go in the comment section, the people are commenting and going, I knew electric cars were worse, right? This is what they're saying. Somebody said in the comment section, they did mention, this is the Daily Fail comment section, they did say, I can slow my car down by using the gears. It's not the bloody same, alright? Now, and I know, I've driven petrol and diesel cars all my life. Most people who've driven electric cars have driven petrol and diesel cars. They're not as if they're oblivious to these vehicles and they haven't driven them before. The research shows that a higher concentration of copper in some pads is associated with the increased harmful effects of sensitive cells from people's lungs as a result of particles being breathed in. So, this article by Hugh is actually saying that EVs, if this is true, that brake dust is really bad for you, then EVs with regen braking that brings a car to a full stop by using the motor is going to be far, far better. Now, I think it was, is it James from Cleveley? I think he took his wheels off to check the brake pads after, I'm going to say, now this is going to sound absurd, okay? And I think it's true. One of the cars he had done 100,000 miles and it still had the original brake pads and discs on it. I'm sure that's true. You can go and look it up. It's on one of his videos. Or if it's false, let me know below. So brake pads last way longer than any petrol or diesel car. They do. They just do. The problem with electric cars is the brake pads tend to seize up or jam a bit and they need servicing, like to lube them up a little bit, because they don't get used that much. Now, the lead author, Dr. James Parkin, he did reference EVs, but he didn't say EVs are specifically the problem. What he said is, however, EVs still produce particulate matter due to friction and wear of road tyres and brakes. And he said, we wanted to understand how different types of chemical composition or pads affect the toxicity of the particles emitted and what this might mean for health individuals. Now, it doesn't say by Hugh. I think the scientists maybe didn't do a very good job on this because they're not mentioning EVs have regen braking, but this article was more along the lines of it was exposure to pollution generated by cars, vans and lorries. So it was, the headline wasn't nothing to do with electric cars. But the Daily Fail, as usual, have grabbed it, twisted it, changed it around, and then GBnews have copied what the Daily Fail have said. Now, I thought that the government was going to do some sort of thing where these newspapers could be fined. They should be struck off. Articles like this, they should be banned completely from being in the news. If they can't do something that's, genuine and real and tidy, instead of making hit pieces on EVs, then they should be banned from having any news articles at all, because it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And like I said, the comment section is just even more absurd than the actual article itself. Now, I'm not trying to say that brake dust isn't bad for you. I know brake dust and brake pads are bad for you. And like I said, my car's got to do a little bit of braking. But here's the big massive difference as well between my electric car and every petrol or diesel car I've owned. There's hardly, I can't see hardly any brake dust on the alloy wheels. In fact, I don't think there's any. I can't see any on there. Now, every petrol and diesel car I've owned, the front wheels have been plastered. They're littered with brake dust particles. It's just covered with it. But on the EV, there's hardly any there at all. Hardly any there at all. And that's real world experience. Anybody with an EV will tell you exactly the same thing. So, these professors, they really need to, put in there, if they're going to do an article or a study, they really should, have a look at EVs and regen braking. Because, like I said, a Tesla, I don't know which cars, does anybody know all the cars that actually come to a stop from regen braking? My car doesn't. It's a Kona EV. So I'm assuming that the Kia e-Niro, mine's a 2020, I think it is. So the Kia e-Niro will be similar. it come to like a creep. I definitely know the Tesla's come to a complete stop just by using the accelerator. So anyway, this is just me having a bit of a rant, because how do they get away with this nonsense? And all it's doing is feeding the anti-EV people more nonsense. I can't say they're feeding them ammunition, because it's feeding them more nonsense, and they're going to sound more ludicrous when they repeat the nonsense that they read in the Daily Fail. So there we go. What do you think of that? That's my rant for the day. And it got on my nerves a bit, because it's just gone too far now. The government, if they want electric cars to succeed, they've got to put a stop to this. They have got to put a stop to these newspapers printing ridiculous articles full of lies and nonsense. Fine them. Get them struck off. Get them so they can't print bugger all. Anyway, if you did like this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ahoy!